Bill the Squirrel celebrates Valentines. This is Bill the Squirrel. Bill lives in Indiana. He visits Florida to get away from the cold weather. He visits Florida to see his aunt and his cousins, Alvin and Buster. When he came to visit, he met this other squirrel who was a friend of his cousins. Her name was Eileen. Eileen liked to ignore Bill and only play with the flowers. Bill tried to talk to Eileen, but she ignored him. One year, Bill couldn't come down because he fell out of a tree and hurt his leg. Alvin and Buster would call Bill to check on him every once in a while. Bill would always ask about Eileen, but Alvin and Buster would just laugh at him. Finally, when the next year rolled around, Bill headed to Florida before winter hit. His friend, Benny the Eagle, would always give him a ride. When he got there, his aunt was so happy to see him. His cousins came out. They were happy to see Bill, but they still teased him about falling out of a tree. Bill ignored them and went to see if he could find Eileen in the fields behind his aunt's tree. As Bill looked at the fields, he thought he saw some movement. He looked back at his aunt. She smiled and told him he could go. Bill ran towards the fields of tulips and daffodils like he was in a race. Bill stopped at the edge of the field of flowers to see if he could see something moving again. Over by the tulips and daffodils, he saw what looked like a tail. He again moved quickly as not to lose sight of the tail. As soon as he got to the edge of the tulips, he saw a tail going back and forth. He slowly walked through the tulips. As soon as he saw a small clearing, he stopped to peek through. He saw Eileen walking around, smelling the tulips. For a moment, Bill's heart stopped. It scared Bill because this never happened before. He again looked at Eileen and decided to go pick a tulip to give to her. Once he found one, he picked it and went back over to where Eileen was to give it to her. Bill slowly walked over to Eileen as not to scare her. Eileen had heard some rustling behind her earlier. She took a quick glance and saw Bill looking around. Eileen turned around as to not let Bill know she had seen him. Once Bill had stopped with the flower in his hand, Eileen turned around. Eileen looked at the flower. She looked at Bill. She could tell he was nervous. Bill put out the flower for Eileen to take. He was scared she would not take it, turn around, and ignore him like she usually would. Eileen took the flower from Bill. She looked at Bill again and smiled. Bill was so surprised that Eileen took the flower, he wasn't sure what to do next. As Bill stood there with a lost look in his face, Eileen closed her eyes and smelled the flower. While Eileen was smelling the flower, Bill suddenly had a great idea since he knew this was a special day. He quickly ran off to grab more flowers. When Eileen opened her eyes, Bill was gone. Eileen felt sad and wondered why Bill was gone. Eileen turned around and decided to smell other flowers around her. It was only a few minutes later when Bill came back. Eileen heard footsteps, but was too sad to look around. Bill came up and tapped Eileen on the shoulder. Eileen, a little stunned, turned around. There was Bill with a big smile on his face. Eileen was not too happy with Bill, so she just looked at him. Bill could sense that Eileen was not happy with him, but once he showed her what he did, everything would be good. Bill put out his hand to let Eileen know to come with him. Eileen stood there for a moment, not sure if she wanted to go with Bill. Bill finally put out both hands. In his other hand was a petal shaped like a heart. Eileen saw the petal. She could not believe it. She had never seen a petal like that. After seeing the petal, Eileen took Bill's hand. Bill, with the biggest smile, led her to an opening in the field. As they walked, Eileen wasn't sure what was going to happen, but for some reason she felt safe. As soon as they got to the clearing, Eileen could not believe what she saw. In the field was a bunch of tulips shaped in a heart. Underneath were the words, "Be my Valentine," spelled out in the grass. Eileen could not believe what she saw. A little tear streamed down her face. Bill looked at her. He smiled and just took her hand. Eileen looked at Bill and said yes. Bill, so happy Eileen said yes, gave her a kiss on the cheek. Eileen blushed and went to give Bill a hug. The truth was, Eileen had missed him when he left. She really missed him when he didn't come because he got hurt. She loved Bill, but didn't know it till that moment he asked her to be his Valentine. And the rest of this story is 50 years of true love.